everybody, I'm Lee Cade, and this is Vinny. Today, we're going to be checking in with our CBTU programs, and our special guests today are going to be Maureen Bell. She's an advanced case manager with the CBTU program, and I was going to say with Beacon, but you're actually with both of the programs, Beacon and Frost, right?
Correct.
All right. And we also have Josh Johnson. He's a behavior aide with CBTU Frost, but you also work with the kids program?
Yes. When we're not at Frost, I come over to the kids program.
So you're both just basically wherever the need is greatest.
Yeah.
Yes.
and the need can be great. So what does CBTU stand for? I was sitting there last night trying to think of what, and I kind of have an idea. And Maureen, I think last time you were on, you probably told me what it was, but my memory, let's just say my talent is in talking, not in remembering things. So I thought of about 15 different things that CBTU stands for, but what does it stand for?
Children's Behavioral Therapy Unit.
Okay, it's definitely not cinnamon bear throw up, which I'm sure about half of your clients would think is hysterical. So feel free to use that. So it's Children's Behavioral Therapy Unit, and I imagine pretty much just what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, pretty much. The CBTU is in the schools. There's obviously one at Beacon and one at Robert Frost. And it's kind of for those kids who have those behavior problems, who need just a little extra assistance, who can't be in like just a normal mainstream classroom, who have those behaviors that kind of require the assistance and everything. They're sent to the CBTU, they're referred there, and they go through the process of getting into the unit. We just assist with behaviors and trying to help them strengthen their coping skills that they already have, teach them new ones, teach them social skills, things like that. So that way they can work their way back into going to regular classrooms.
And what's the age range of kids that we're looking at?
5 or 6 through 12.
So you're looking at basically your elementary school age kids?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, and when we're looking at a range of behaviors, we're not talking about like when I was in elementary school, I really just couldn't stop talking about Star Wars, but it wasn't disruptive. I could still focus on assignments. We're not talking about those kind of behaviors. We're talking about disruptive, maybe, or we're talking emotional, or there may be some aggression in there too.
All the things, everything from the aggression, and that's towards objects and or people, and then kids who don't want to be there and they try to run away, and the emotional outbursts. So it's all the things.
And how do you help a kid who's experiencing these kind of situations? Is this do you work with therapy, redirection? What do you do in that kind of a situation? Sometimes it's hard to break through with a kid that's experiencing these kind of emotions.
That's kind of where the behavior aids come in. We just kind of help lead them and guide them and things like that. Just kind of help strengthen what they already know, teach them new things. We do have a therapist on site as well through Valley who works with them one-on-one, and the behavior aid just kind of backs up what the therapist teaches and also just kind of is there in the classroom more than the therapist. Obviously the therapist is working one-on-one with kids, so they're not in the classroom as much as the behavior aid is, and then the behavior aid can report to the therapist how things are going and things like that, and then we just help them work through whatever they're going through. Sometimes it takes just once, and sometimes it takes a few different times of the same behaviors for them to finally understand and figure out how to work through those things.
Wow. This last year has been chaotic for, I think, people who normally, even in the best of times, but they've got their life pretty much in order. I imagine for a kid who's already having some issues dealing with day-to-day stress, this last year has been even more chaotic. Have you seen things even just a little more off-kilter than normal?
Yes. Yeah. Especially at Beacon, when we started at the beginning of the school year, we had half the kids, half the time, they had A days, B days. So then we saw a lot more behaviors when they brought all the kids back, just getting used to that because the more kids there are, the more triggers there are for them. They're getting less attention from the adults. So that was a big adjustment period for us at Beacon. And Frost has been in session with all the kids since the beginning of the school year. So they had, behaviors at the beginning there and throughout, and we get new kids, and we've been operating this whole time.
Have you seen an uptick in some of the behaviors from kids that you weren't normally seeing behaviors from because of COVID?
At the beginning, yes, just because they were coming back to their friends and they were talking about COVID and things like that. And it was still kind of a big big thing when they came back in August. It had just been going on for a little bit. And so it was still kind of like a big thing for kids. And so they were talking about it. They were still a little worried about it. Now as it's progressed, it's kind of dwindled off a little bit. Obviously, there's a little bit of kids worrying about it, but it's not as big as it was back at the beginning of the school year when they were coming back to school. They had just been online since March, and then they had all summer, and then now they're coming back to in-person class. So yeah, there was a little bit of uptick, not as much as I thought there was going to be, but there was a little bit.
Gotcha. So how resilient are kids? That's my $1 million question pretty much throughout the year. I find myself like over the last year, I'll be in line at the grocery store and I'm getting ready to just like hyperventilate because somebody's not wearing a mask or they've got it underneath their nose or something like that. But I've noticed that kids for the most part just seem to be going with the flow. Are you seeing that seems to be the case too? Even at CBTU, like it's not as extreme as you would think it is, or are the hard behaviors even harder?
I often describe kids as bouncy. I mean, whether they're falling on the ground or there's these, a big crisis like COVID and all these things that are going on at home, all these different stress factors. I describe them as bouncy. They always come back from it. So they're very resilient in that way.
It's like they're kind of made of rubber, right?
Pretty
So now here we are. It's April. I have a few friends that are elementary school teachers, and they said that the children become half feral as the summer gets close. So what happens with CBTU as the school year starts to wind down? Do you guys shut down, or do you have a summer program that starts to kick in?
We actually have a summer program that we run. Last year was a little different than what we did. I started in 2019. And so the first year we did the summer program, we went out on a field trip every day and went somewhere. Last year we had to change it. And so we came to the kids program and used a room here. We had like 6 kids or something like that we used, and we taught social skills and did therapy groups and things like that all summer. This year we're going to do every other day. So we'll do one day that's a therapy group and social skills. The next day we'll go on a field trip somewhere, things like that. So it's a little different, but yeah, we go through the whole summer with a summer program and kind of keep strengthening those social skills that they learned through the school year and just kind of help them as well during the summer.
Gotcha. Now, with kids, I think a lot of people are surprised, especially with kids that have challenging behaviors. What do you think people would find most surprising about the kids that you work with at the end of the day? If you had one thing that you could share with somebody that didn't like violate a privacy clause or something, but what do you think people would find most surprising about the kids that you work with?
I think the biggest thing is that they can have a challenging behavior one day. They can be aggressive. They can do all these things. And then the next day they come in, it's like nothing ever happened. And they're just like, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. So that's kind of, it makes me laugh every time because they can have an aggression. You're trying to de-escalate them. They say that they hate you. They're using all kinds of fun words that kids shouldn't be using. And then the next day they come in like nothing ever happened.
How about you, Maureen?
Yeah, I think there's that. And they're having these big behaviors. And a lot of the times it's just because they want to be cared for. They want to know that they're loved. It's not really anything against you personally that they're saying that they hate you or these words that children shouldn't be saying or shouldn't even know. And it's just because they want to be loved like everybody else.
That's amazing. I think that the work that the two of you are doing is amazing, and it can be very challenging for your patients. And the fact that you're able to just do this day in and day out, especially for the age group that you're working with, is just a testament to your patients and to your dedication to your work. And my hat's off to you for just your dedication to what you're doing. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with everybody what you do. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks for joining us.